Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out. Pleasure to be in the company of Duke McKenzie MBE once again, albeit over Zoom. Duke, good to see you. And we'll go straight into the top of the boxing news. That being that the surprise, maybe, comeback of Tyson Fury to the heavyweight division, who's agreed deals for an Oleksandr Usyk trilogy and the anti-Joshua fight. What's your thoughts on that?
No surprise, no surprise. Like I said, I think that he was holding out for a bigger ransom, which he's clearly got now. It's good for the sport that he's actually, come out of retirement because obviously he brings a lot of ice to the prize. So it's all good. It's not a bad thing. Can't be bad for the sport.
So, for someone who's retired, usually we talk about retired fighters or fighters at the end of their career, talking about them having at least one foot out the sport, and that being a negative look on if they're going to continue in the ring. But Tyson, having come out of retirement, seems to be really affected by this Alexander Usyk to defeat. He said he's watched the fight 250 times, can't see a way that he beat him at all. And it really seems to stick with him that Usyk has those wins over him. Is that the sort of thing you want to hear from a returning fighter?
Well, let's get it right. He's obviously delusional because he clearly lost both fights. Not only in my eyes, but the judges' eyes. The people that really count made him lose not one but twice. So the fact that he's still belly aching about it is the fact that he's still trying to convince himself that he won, which he clearly didn't. Really, that shows a lot of delusion on his part. I mean, listen, when you lose in a fight, never mind a world title fight, when you lose in a fight, full stop. The best thing to do is just to dry your tears and crack on. Just you got to man up. Sometimes somebody just got your number, and it's clear that Alexander Usyk has got Tyson Fury's number because he's beaten him twice. The powers that be, we're talking about the ringside judges, they don't make things up. They allegedly got the best of the best to referee and to judge that fight. So three judges, one can't get it wrong, one could possibly get it wrong, but the other two didn't. And the second fight was a unanimous decision. So for me, there's no ifs, no buts, no maybes. You got beat. Get on with it.
Do you fancy his chances in a third fight with Alexander Usyk? And what is it about? I know that you mentioned that Fury you feel isn't thinking straight with his thoughts on the Usyk trilogy. But what is it about a fighter's mentality to want that get back with the fighter that's beaten them?
Well, I listen. If somebody beats you once, then the most natural thing for any fight to do is say to themselves, "Yeah, you know what? I'll go again, and I'll get him the next time." But if somebody beats you twice, then that's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. It means that guy's got your number. Alexander Usyk has got Tyson Fury number. He's got him in his back pocket. He'll fight him again and he'll beat him again. It's not rocket science. Anything he's done once, he's done twice. If he's done it twice, he'll do it again. And for me, Alexander Usyk, he's already stated and claimed that he wants two more fights. It looks like it's going to be the Dubois fight. And should he be successful and get through that, which I think he will, then he may then go with a trilogy against Fury. If that's the case, then your man there, Usyk, has said also he wants his last fight to be in the Ukraine, in his backyard. If Tyson Fury can't be in his backyard, twice he's lost to him, over here, in his backyard, he sure as hell ain't going to the Ukraine and beating Usyk in his backyard. And as I said before, Usyk isn't slipping. He's not. If anything, he's purring along quite nicely, and he should retire, I believe, undefeated. There's nobody to beat him right now. Daniel Dubois is not going to beat Alexander Usyk. That's just my prediction. And Tyson Fury certainly won't beat Alexander Usyk.
Penny for Daniel Dubois and his team's thoughts about this fight being penciled in with Alexander Usyk in lieu of course, their rematch happening not this weekend but the next. In your career, Duke, did you ever have a fighter who had a fight penciled in after your fight, and if so, how did that make you feel?
If he's had a fight penciled in after my fight,
Yeah.
but listen, then if he's thinking like that, then he's clearly his head's not in the right space. You can't. You can only take one fight at a time,
Mm.
and you should only really be having your eyes on that person that you're fighting, not thinking of the fight ahead. If you're thinking of the fight ahead, then your mind's not on the game, and you're not bringing your A game. Could just be a ploy. It might just be their way of trying to unruffle Usyk in thinking that Dubois has not really got his eyes on the prize going into that fight. Can't see that happening. Dubois' team and Dubois are far too professional. So I think this is a little bit of a smokescreen.
The other thing that was mentioned, of course, was focus on Oleksandr Usyk, but Anthony Joshua. Fury seems less keen, but he mentioned the fight would be a Wembley fight. If it happened, it would have to be a big occasion. It seems like the wheel's in motion, at least for that fight to finally happen.
I can see that fight happening. I mean, with or without the Usyk fight, Joshua and Fury, I mean, they should have fought 5 years ago easily. And the fact that it's taken them so long and they're still talking about it now. I mean, sometimes, like I say, sometimes talk's cheap. It just gets boring. If they're going to do it, do it. If they're not, shut up and move on. Life goes on. And there's a whole host of young guys coming through now who are chomping at the bit, waiting for these old guys to either move on, or if these old guys are still going to be hanging around, then they're going to get beaten by these young fighters that are coming through. And Usyk's got the right plan, and he strikes me as being a man of his word. And if he says he's only having 2 more fights, believe him. And if he said his last fight's going to be in the Ukraine, you want to believe that also.
I mentioned to Fury in the media scrum that the WBC had said that should Tyson Fury return to the ring, they would rank him as number 1 in their rankings, and that would put him in line for should, let's say hypothetically, Dubois were to beat Oleksandr Usyk, a shot at Daniel Dubois and his titles. That is a fight which Frank Warren has said he'd be very uncomfortable in making. And I asked Tyson, would he look to force that through, considering Frank Warren's uncomfortable position? Tyson responded saying, like, if hypothetically Dubois was to beat Usyk, and I was in line for a fight with him, he would box his expletive ears off, and didn't essentially see Daniel Dubois as a worthy competitor to him. How would you read Fury and Dubois?
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I can't help it. You know what? The only person who's going to beat Daniel Dubois is Oleksandr Usyk. I would hazard a guess that Daniel Dubois, if he is successful and beats Oleksandr Usyk, then I wouldn't have any hesitation whatsoever saying that he would absolutely smash Tyson Fury to pieces. He'd ruin him. Make no mistake about that. Daniel Dubois is fearless. And I don't know, man, if you boxed a fearless fighter before, or you know what it's like when you've got a guy in front of you that just, in his mindset, he's saying to himself, I cannot be beaten. And this is a young 27-year-old hungry fighter who can fight and who's improved immensely, physically and mentally. A lot's been made over the psychology improvement with Daniel Dubois. And we've seen it with the Joshua fight, how he responded. We saw it in the Hrgovic fight, how he responded. Like I said previously, the only person that's going to beat Daniel Dubois right now is Usyk, because Usyk's already beaten him once. And if he's done it once, the chances are he'll do it again because he's not slipping. But just going back to Fury and Dubois, if I was Tyson Fury, I'd avoid him. I would avoid Daniel Dubois like the plague.
No, I'm sure in next week I'll hopefully be able some time to catch up with you, and we'll talk Usyk versus Dubois 2 in a bit more length. But I wanted to ask you about Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn 2. That rematch has now been confirmed to happen later on this year. You told me last time when we spoke that you had a conversation with Eubank Sr. about
Yeah.
about that. But have you spoke to Eubank Sr. since this fight's been announced, and what are your thoughts about that rematch happening?
I haven't spoken to Chris Eubank Sr. yet, but I will. I think on a personal level, I wish the fight wasn't going on, just for health and safety reasons, where Eubank is concerned, Eubank Jr. is concerned. We all saw him boiling down to make weight for the return fight. Now, he's got out of jail once. He may not be so lucky second time around. You know, the fact that he has to, I mean, just absolutely crucify himself to make that weight is unhealthy. I don't want to play devil's advocate, and I don't want to say what if this happens or what if that happens. Let's just wish both fighters come out of this with their health and the right man gets the win. I would hate to see a trilogy in this fight. As far as I'm concerned, they should have only boxed the once, which they already have. Eubank won it, clearly, for my money. There's only so many times you can go to the well. There's only so many times your body will respond, and all of a sudden it just gives up on you. And I hope that's not the case in this fight. It was painful watching Eubank Jr. make that weight in all the boiler suit and the sauna and the laying down and the sweating out and the weeks that he's probably gone, the months that he's probably gone, with he was totally dehydrated after the fight, took himself off to hospital. That's how severe and how drained he was, having had made that weight. Do you really want to put yourself through that again? Should the powers that be, the governing bodies that are watching this fight, that are sanctioning this fight, right, it may not be for a title, however, it's going to be overseen by somebody, whether it's the British Boxing Board control, surely somebody should be stepping in and be saying, this fight shouldn't be happening. Not under these circumstances. If Ben wants to move up in more weight and meet Eubank at a higher weight division, then yeah, they should fight. But not at the same weight that they boxed the last time. It was too painful to watch.
Is there, and playing devil's advocate here, but is there an argument to say it was such a huge occasion? It was an occasion that crossed over into the mainstream, brought casual eyes onto the sport, where we don't have too many of those occasions happening throughout the year in a British boxing perspective, that British boxing does need this fight to keep boxing going in a way?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can look at it two different ways. You can say you could say it was a good fight and it brought eyes to the prize and a whole new audience, or you can say to yourself, Eubank's doing it again for the money, clearly, for the money. He's putting his life, not his career, he's putting his life on the line for money. Everybody's got their price. But what price are you going to potentially pay if things don't go your way? And I'm sure, God forbid, if things don't go his way, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Let's just say, God forbid, he didn't get he didn't lose his life, but picked up a serious injury. Then there's no amount of money you can have that's going to put your health back together again. So, somebody's got to shake that guy by the scruff of the neck and say to him, listen, mate, you just earned a really good payday. It's a huge payday. He probably got paid more in that fight than most world champions get in their fights, and they're world champions. Do you see what I mean? He's not a world champion. There's no title on the line. There couldn't possibly be a title on the line of any real worth. So what price are you going to pay for your life, potentially? I know that might sound a bit harsh, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody's life.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you heard, onto a next topic. Ricky Hatton is choosing to return to the ring later on this year. Have you seen that? He's going to fight over in Dubai.
Yeah, I read in the media just today, actually, that Ricky Hatton was decided to throw his hat back into the ring at 46 years of age. Maybe I'm a little bit old school. Maybe I'm a little bit long in the tooth. I don't know. But I don't really think you could pay me enough money to take my top off, jump back into the ring and look like an old man, because that's what he is. He's an old man now. He's a granddad, I'm sure. It doesn't matter who he's fighting, really. I mean, Ricky Hatton was a household name in his prime. Everybody loved Ricky Hatton, and he was an exciting fighter to watch. But we're not talking about Ricky Hatton, prime Ricky Hatton now. We're talking about an old granddad. And it doesn't really matter who he's fighting. The guy's going to be half his age, okay? So Ricky Hatton's clearly got something missing in his life, where maybe he wants pats on the back, maybe he wants the adulation of the crowd, maybe he just wants to hear that, We Love Ricky Hatton song one more time. Good luck to the guy. If that's how he gets his fix, then that's up to him, ultimately. I don't really think there's any place for it. And it doesn't really leave a good taste in my mouth, because, like I say, he's a granddad. He's an old man. Should be putting his feet up and enjoying life. Go fishing, walk his dogs, and just enjoy life and his kids and his grandkids. But for whatever the reason, he wants to get back into the ring and still proves to, I don't know, whoever, that he's still got it. Everybody wants to remember fighters in their prime, when they was on top. But very few can actually achieve that. Only the good and the great get out of this game undefeated, like a Mayweather or a Ricardo Lopez, or there's been one or two others over the years. Rocky Marciano come out of the sport undefeated, but that doesn't happen to very many fighters. It's not even a handful of fighters that it's happened to, or even with. So, and Ricky Hatton shouldn't be doing what he's doing. I wish he wouldn't.
How much are you going to be putting your feet up and watching this weekend's action? You got the double header over in New York. You got the women's card presented by Jake Paul and MVP Promotions, and you've got the Ring Magazine card, which is headlined by Hamza Shiraz and Edgar Berlanga, and also Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. Is there an outlying fight that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, Zepeda and Stevenson. It's a good fight. It's a decent fight. It's a world title fight. At arguably its best. I mean, Zepeda's going to come and bring the heat. Now, for me, Shakur Stevenson, synthetically, is a master, but he can't break an egg. So that then leads you to believe that this fight's going to go some rounds. We're going to get some distance. He can talk it up all he wants. I want to knock the other guy out. I want to do this. I want to do that. No, you're not. We all know you're not. You can't. You don't hit hard enough. Zepeda's got a good chin and he's got a good stamina. And he's going to be he's going to be gunning for Stevenson. This is his one shot at the big time. This is his chance to get himself back in the limelight, back into the big time. And it's going to be a good fight. And also the Hamza Shiraz fight, you're going to get a good fight. I expect Hamza Shiraz to knock Berlanga. Is it Berlanga?
Berlanga, yeah.
I think he stops him or knock him out. He'll stop him or knock him out. Because for me, Shiraz let himself down in his last fight because he struggled to make the weight. It was clear to me because I've been in that position and I read his body language and it was there for everybody to see. He wasn't firing all cylinders. But this time, I expect him, because he's moved up in weight, I expect him to go out there and do an absolute number on this guy because, this other kid, he talks a great fight, but he can't back it up. He can't. Fall short of the big turtle every time. And this fight's a good fight for Shiraz to showcase to the world what he really can do against the world-class opponent, because he is.
Finally, Duke, obviously we arranged this interview, and today you went to go see attend the funeral of James Cook MBE, who sadly passed away. You mentioned to me off camera that there was a whole raft of people, too many to count, that attended there. The whole community showed up for him. But just a word on the life of James Cook.
Well, besides saying that James Cook was just a beautiful human being, I can't remember going to a funeral where there was so many people. I've been to plenty of weddings before where I've seen maybe not even that many people, but I can't remember going to a funeral. There must have been 1,000 people there. I mean, the church was packed. It was standing room only. All of the aisles where people walk up and down were packed. Out on the street in the foyer was packed. Down the road was packed, almost as far as the eye could see. And I thought to myself, the church was full of love for James Cook. People loved him, not only his wife and his daughter, but people that know the man, they love the guy. And my heart goes out to him, James, because he's just a beautiful human being.
Well said, Duke. Obviously, everyone at Seconds Out as well too echoes those sentiments. It's been a pleasure once again speaking to you. Looking forward to our next conversation already. Enjoy this weekend's action as well, and we'll speak very soon.
Thanks, champ.